I have always been exposed to music of various kinds, starting at a very young age. I like to attribute that start of my musical journey to my mother. As a former choir singer herself, she would always sing to me as a child. I remember in particular that we used to ride around in the car singing Toby Keith's Greatest Hits Volume 2. And if you play me one of those songs today, I'm pretty sure that I could still sing you most of the words. I always had a natural curiosity towards things that happened behind the scenes. I always wanted to know how things worked. That curiosity led me to actually read and try to understand what the different connections were on the back of our TV set. As crawling behind electronics is not a very fun job for adults to do, that meant my family members were not hesitant to let me do that dirty work. This early experience, I believe, sparked my never-ending quest to get to the root of how electronics work and what they can be used for. My mother also encouraged me to join choir in middle school. She contended that it was something I was naturally good at, and I enjoyed it enough, so why not do it? And I stuck with it all the way through high school and into college. And if we're being honest, I love the limelight, so this was a good avenue for me to express myself. This is also where I started to learn a bit about music theory and began to try unraveling this idea of music as art. My grandmother had always been the nicest lady, always providing me opportunities to grow. I was in middle school when I expressed interest in video cameras. My grandma was quick to give me her old Sony Handycam that recorded on 8mm tapes. I never did anything big with it, just taking it on family vacations and things like that, but this was a turning point where I actually had a piece of gear that I could work with myself. Now, I was a strange teenager in the beginning, as I believe most of us probably were. Musically, I was not very diverse. There were essentially 4 forms of media that I enjoyed: the Beach Boys, Weird Al Yankovic, the Phantom of the Opera soundtrack, and talk radio. This love of radio left me with a dream to someday be a radio personality. And I am happy to say that I got that opportunity in college, to be a part of 89.1 FM Trapper Radio. For now, my dreams have taken a different turn, but I will always retain that love for radio. A year or two later, I had expanded my horizons. I stumbled upon the proverbial honeypot. I discovered my dad's old CD collection. It contained mostly stuff he listened to as a young adult. Nirvana, some Ozzy Osbourne, Aerosmith, and Pink Floyd, just to name a few. I listened to the ones I liked back to front several times over. Those albums, plus a drive to read the band's biographies, left me with a bit of that signature rock and roll rebel spirit that I still retain to this day. After discovering my dad's music stash, I quickly developed an interest in learning how to play guitar. My mom had an old classical guitar lying around, so I took to trying to learn through her old music theory books. I kept up the interest, but with hardly any progress until my birthday in 2008. I turned 13, and I got a red PV Raptor Stratocaster knockoff, and I also bought one of those For Dummies books. You know, the yellow ones with the cartoon guy on the front? I taught myself how to play using that book and free tabs from the internet. Now, I have since sold that guitar, but here's a photo of me with my Les Paul knockoff that I currently play today. After playing with my little 15-watt amp got old, I decided I needed to invest in some effects. I did a little digging and decided that something digital with the most flexibility would probably be my best bet. So I bought the Digitech RP50, and that satisfied me for the duration of my more deep inquest into the guitar. It offered a bunch of effects that I wasn't really quite sure what they did: reverb, echo, EQ, distortion, phasers and flangers, all the things like that. Now, trying to piece together how these effects changed the sound of the guitar spurred me further to the direction of the technical aspect of media. My freshman year of high school came with a cease in my musical activity. I still played guitar in my free time, but I did not enroll in choir. But the second semester of my freshman year, I joined choir again to finish out my fine arts credit. And it turns out I didn't have as much fun at drawing as I did with music. I particularly remember the old Latin hymns we used to sing. This was good for me because it led me to learn to appreciate all kinds of music, even the kinds that I didn't particularly enjoy. Here I started to form this idea that all music is to be appreciated because, in the end, it all comes from one unique element: a human. In the midst of conceptualizing my theory about music and its relation to the human component, I discovered a new genre of interest: rap and hip-hop. I was a rock nut who didn't quite understand the value of artistic wordplay. I didn't understand that these were just people expressing their point of view in front of banging 808 drums. And when a close friend showed me Kid Cudi's album Man on the Moon 2, I finally began to grasp that rap isn't always so overtly centered around violence and drugs. This was about my sophomore year of high school. After singing for 2 years in the top mixed choir called Chorale at Billings Skyview High, I further understood why I was attracted to different kinds of music. It was because they had this capability to make me feel such a wide spectrum of emotion. Now, the next thing I say is most definitely corny, but I need to make it clear. Music is like therapy for your soul. Music was now something that I craved because I used it as a tool for useful introspection, or as I like to call it, spring cleaning of your conscience, something that I think the world needs a lot more of. I went to Rocky Mountain College in Billings, Montana after my last year of high school. I didn't really know which path I wanted to pursue yet, so I just went to the school that gave me the most amount of scholarship money. One of the hardest parts of deciding a career path for me was whether I wanted to do something I love or have job security. In my mind, I had it narrowed down to two options: stay at Rocky and become a nurse, or come to Northwest College in Powell, Wyoming to pursue music technology and TV production. Now, I had a late night with some of my real close friends, and I decided to live the all too familiar adage: if you do something you love, you will never work a day in your life. Hold on, let's pause the story. P.S. Throughout 3 years in high school and 1 year at Rocky, I was a cheerleader. Yes, I was the guy that threw girls in the air and made sure that they didn't hit the ground. Funny story about how I got started: I wanted to be the mascot, the Skyview Falcon. And I tried out and I got the gig, yay me. And then I had to go to cheer camp with the girls over the summer, and that's when I got into stunting, which is the throwing and the catching of the girls. And I decided that stunting was much better than jumping around in the sweaty mascot outfit. So I stuck with that instead. In the end, I decided to come to Northwest, and so far I have not regretted that decision. I ended up double majoring in television production and music technology. I woke up every day not dreading to go to class. Instead, I was actually excited to learn. And since I was able to knock out most of my general education requirements at Rocky, I was able to step into Northwest only doing the fun classes that had to do with my major. Through the music, TV, and radio departments, I was offered many opportunities to narrow down my career field even further. My first year at Northwest, the TV department needed another person to do play-by-play and color reporting. Those are the guys that talk over the video of the sporting events that happen on TV. Now, I'm not necessarily an avid sports fan, but I jumped at the chance for a new experience. Watching all of those sports in high school as a cheerleader actually came in handy in the end. I've always been told that I have a nice voice, and I guess that you can be the judge since you're the one listening to this. But through this experience, I was able to refine my skills as an announcer, as well as explore another possible career path. My co-host Aaron and I, pictured here, even got the opportunity to follow the Northwest College volleyball team to the NJCAA National Tournament and bring back the good news of the Lady Trappers back to Powell via the radio. I've learned so much being involved in the television department at Northwest College. I've shot news packages, sports, plays, live concerts, and many more things. I've also learned how to edit that footage in post with Adobe Premiere. This is a skill that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. I think that the television background I gained in college will ultimately benefit me in the long run, because doesn't this sound marketable? The audio guy who can also shoot, edit, write news stories, and who can also deliver them on camera. Oh, and he knows how to be personable on the radio too. Now, I would like to think so. Being able to work in the music technology department at Northwest was probably one of the best decisions of my life. It allowed me to really dig into this whole behind-the-scenes direction that I had been building my life around. I had access to professional-level gear and a truly amazing instructor who provided me a lot of insight about the industry and was able to point me in a direction of where I wanted my career to go. I was lucky enough at Northwest to have plenty of opportunities to pursue my love of music and turn that love into scholarship money. I got the chance to sing in the collegiate choir, which is like a traditional choir, the Northwest Studio Singers, which is a small auditioned jazz choir, as well as the Northwest Guitar Ensemble. And this took a huge chunk out of my college bill, and for that I am truly thankful to Northwest. I was also really lucky in the fact that I was able to attain a job as a resident assistant while at Northwest, and wow, that was quite the experience. Being an RA was one of the most fun jobs I have ever had, while at the same time being the most taxing. It's funny how a bunch of 20-year-old college students can take your will to get out of bed some days. Regardless, that has allowed me to do my time at Northwest completely debt-free, which is quite the marvel for a student in this day and age. And at the end of the day, I am very thankful for that job, even with its ups and downs. Now, on to my aspirations for after college. Now, I'm a very simple man. I am easy to please, and it does not require much to make me happy. In the future, I would just like to have a job. But more specifically, I would like to have a job working sound at a newscast for a TV station. I like that kind of fast-paced environment that the newscast brings with it. But if I don't exactly land in a TV station, it's not that big of a deal. I honestly just want a job in this field somewhere. Oh, And another passion that I have is alpine skiing. The mountain is truly one place where I can be free, and I make an effort every winter to be up there as much as possible. So ultimately, I just want to be happy working a job I love and spending the rest of my days doing things that are interesting and fun to me. So, thanks for taking a moment to listen to the story of a boy who turned into a man who is named Mitch Laggy. Thank you.